The rabbi is on.
Right. There we go. Okay. So, laws and customs of Hanukkah starts with the story of Hanukkah, which goes back a long time, in the era of the Second Temple in Jerusalem. Second Temple, by the way, was on the Temple Mount. And there was nothing of Islam there. Islam had just really begun, and Jerusalem wasn't even on their radar map. But that's a discussion for another time. So let's talk about Greek culture a little bit. Let's back up a little bit. Alexander the Great was conquering most of the world and came to Jerusalem. And the Jews were very afraid. And Shimon HaTzadik, the righteous Shimon, who was the Kohen Gadol, who was a high priest, he came out to greet him. Hello, here you go. There's a sign-in sheet, and take the paperwork, and you get this too. And to everyone's shock, Alexander the Great bowed down to him. And the Greek soldiers were asking, why are you bowing down to Shimon HaTzadik? And he said, I'm bowing down because before I went into battle, I had a vision of a rabbi, and it was him. And I want to show him proper respect. And we conquered all the people because of that. And so he offered Shimon HaTzadik whatever he wants, wealth, land, anything you want. Hello. Hello. You get a free paper. Hi, gang. Would you like them to go into the library to look at some books? Yeah. They want to listen? Go right ahead. You're welcome. How? Go ahead. There's some toys in the back over there. If she's quiet, underneath in the drawers there. So if you want to, hi gang, welcome. And Shimon HaTzadik didn't want anything for himself, which shocked Alexander. And he said, what would you like? He said, I just wanted the temple should be able to continue to serve God. And she's looking for the good stuff, checking out the kitchen. And what ended up happening was, it's okay, she can go in there. She'll find anything, but you can look. And he allowed the Jews to continue using the temple, and things were great until years later go by. Shimon HaTzadik passes away, and at this time, the Greek Assyrians are coming into Israel, and the Jews are doing business with the Greeks. And there's a cultural influence that's taking place. And we really need to understand about Greek culture a little bit. There was great philosophers, Aristotle, other great philosophers, but they also had some very interesting ideas. The Olympics were invented by the Greeks. And what was the point of the Olympics? Any ideas? No.
To cure the other team.
Aesthetics, beauty.
Beauty, aesthetics, that the external is what's most important. You're a good person if you look good, if you can do physical prowess, right? By the way, the Olympics were done in the nude, which we're getting closer to that, so there's it was a whole philosophy. And eventually the Greeks said, we want the Jews to follow our philosophy and not their philosophy. So this is a very different kind of exile that the Jewish people had. The Greeks weren't there to physically kill us. They were there to spiritually kill us. Because all they cared about is if you lived a Greek lifestyle. But if you did, they were very happy. But they said, no Shabbos, don't keep Shabbos, don't keep the new month, don't keep bris milah circumcision, don't keep kashrus, don't do anything unique about Jewish law, just live. And some of the Jews, unfortunately, they were called misyavnim. They were the Jews that joined Greek culture, but there were many Jews who fought for keeping the Torah and the mitzvahs. You want to pass the sign-in sheet back? Do you have the sign-in sheet? You have the sign. Did you sign it? If you can sign it, all the information. Thank you. They fought for being able to keep Jewish life, and they were willing to give up their lives for that. And they hid in caves and did what they needed to do. As a matter of fact, some of you may have heard of the dreidel, the top that's used. How did the dreidel become to be a popular Chanukah toy? It came to be a Chanukah toy because the Jews used that. They would go out into the forest to study Torah, and they had a lookout. When the Greek Assyrian soldiers came, they would hide the books and take out the top and play with it. And they would say, no, we're playing this game. So that this way they wouldn't get into trouble for studying Torah. So it's very interesting. So what ended up happening is Antiochus was a mean king, and he had a mean governor, and they made all different kind of rules, as I said, against Judaism. Eventually, the Maccabees decided that they are going to fight against the Greek Assyrians. They were outgunned, outnumbered. The army of the Greek Assyrians was very powerful. As I mentioned, they had conquered most of the world years before. But they were determined and understood that God is going to help them, and they're going to try to do the best that they can to defend keeping Jewish law and living a Jewish life. And eventually they were able miraculously, and by the way, the word Maccabee, of Yehuda HaMaccabee, so the pictures, by the way, the drawings of these people are all these, big muscle people. No, that's not what they were. Maccabee stands for a verse in the Torah that's an abbreviation. Mi kamocha ba'elim Hashem. Who is like you among the strong ones, God? They said, on our own, we're not going to be able to conquer them, but if we rely on God, then we have a chance. So Mi kamocha ba'elim Hashem. Who is like you among the strong ones, God? And that's what they were called Maccabee. And ultimately, they were able to defeat the Greek Assyrians and chase them out of the temple, which they had defiled. They had defiled it by bringing a pig into the thing and slaughtering it on the altar. They had all the things that were ritually clean. Because the temple always had things that were very pure. They defiled everything, and one exception was one jug of oil that was enough oil for the menorah. The menorah was one of the things they had with the candelabra. How many lights in the menorah in the temple? Trick question. What? No. Seven. That's correct. 7. Chanukah, we have 8, but this was 7. This has 7 lights, so they had enough oil for 7 lights. And this one jug of oil, nice try though, because the Chanukah menorah has 9 parts to it, right? So this one jug of oil miraculously was only had enough oil for 1 day. It lasted for 8 days. And the miracle of the oil that lasted for 8 days is where established why we should remember the oil, remember the miracle and of many miracles that took place then, and light the menorah. When did this happen? This happened on Chaf Hei Kislev, the 25th day of the Hebrew month of Kislev, and that's where the word Chanukah comes from. Chanu Chaf Hei. They rested on the 25th day. Write it on the board. So built into the word Chanukah is, Eva, can you see it? Yeah?
Yes, I can, yes.
Good. So it's Chanu Kafhe. Kafhe is 25. So the 25th day of Kislev is when they stopped the battle and they went into the temple and they lit the menorah with the pure holy oil that they found that had been sealed with the seal of the high priest. It's also the word chinuch. Chinuch means, we use it also when we talk about raising children in the proper way, to rededicate. And it was the rededication of the temple because they had to clean it out, get rid of all the idol worship stuff that was there, and use it for clean it up for that. So let's see on the outline. Did I give you an outline? You have an outline, yeah? Yeah, you have one? You have one. Good, okay. So we celebrate Hanukkah beginning on the 20th day of Kislev. This year begins Wednesday evening, this Wednesday, the 25th, until Wednesday, January 2nd. 8 days of what? Lighting candles each evening, joy and praise, having special meals in honor of, increasing charity to the poor, no fasting or eulogies, all work is permitted except on Shabbat, and daily for women during when the candles are burning. So women can do regular things, but like extra things like sewing or at least the first half an hour when the light is on, they shouldn't do work then. Why? There's a beautiful story attached to that. There was a general that laid siege to one of the large Jewish cities. And he laid siege to the city and didn't allow anything in or out. And a woman snuck out of the city and said, I want to help out on the Greek side. Hello. Sign in. There's a sign-in sheet there, I think, and you can take one of each. Okay, one of each thing. And she befriended the general, and one fine day, wined and dined him, gave him a lot of cheese, which made him thirsty, and then gave him a lot of strong wine to drink, and he fell into a very deep slumber. And she promptly went and chopped his head off and put it into the bag, the first bag lady, and took it to the Jewish city, and they hung it on the wall. And the soldiers, when they saw in the morning that the general's head was on the wall, they panicked and left. So part of the victory, the women had a part in. She was a very holy, righteous woman, but she did this to try to save the Jewish people. And because of the women have an important role in the Hanukkah story, that's one of the reasons why when the Hanukkah lights are burning, the women don't do extra work. So how do we light the menorah? Best we light with olive oil. Why olive oil? That's what they have in Israel. That's what they used. That was they used in the temple. They used Shemen Zayis, olive oil, as miracle that occurred in the temple. Other oils are nice as long as the wicks that burn nicely. So, growing up, my father, blessed memory, took cotton and made his own wicks. But today, you don't have to do that. You can do floaties. At the kosher store, they have these little round silver things with a little wick that you stick into it, and you just put it on top of the oil. Very easy to set up. So that's what I recommend. You can use candles, regular candles, which I'm going to give out some. We don't use electric menorahs. That's just for publicity in stores. And a nice menorah is appropriate. Whatever we do, we try to beautify mitzvah. Oh, very Jewish. Huh? I can't hear. Yes. So again, there's olive oil, other oils, candles, no, not electric. And by the way, feel free if you have any questions to ask, okay? Who's required to light? So one per household is fine. but every adult can light. Get a guest, if you're staying at someone's house and sleeping over, then you can light on your own, or you can become a partner with the host who's lighting by, giving them a quarter or whatever, just to be a partner. How many candles? So we have two levels of candles. There is the shamish. The shamish is the helper light. That doesn't count. There's no blessing made on that. That's used to be the lighter and also to provide non-holy light with what you're doing. And then, depending on the night, the first night, we light one candle. Second night, two candles. I'm sorry? You are right. I'm doing it backwards, so that's why I'm doing this. Second night, two lights, etc. And this does not include the shamus. So it's made specifically, it's supposed to be straight, because a lot of modern menorahs, all different shapes and sizes, you can't know what day it is when it's done that way. This way, the shamash is on a different level, so it's not a day, it's not telling what day it is. It's the helper light for you. Now, generally, people light toward the window facing the public domain. That's ideal. So we light at the window facing so people can see it. If, however, and ideally, it's 3 handbreadths from the floor, above 12 inches, and preferably approximately below 40 inches. If the window's a little higher, you can still do it a little higher. But it has to be below 20 cubits, around 30, 40 feet, as measured from street level. So if you live on the 3rd or 4th floor, if you live on the 3rd or 4th floor, 3rd floor might make it, might not make it, but 5th floor, 6th floor, then you don't light by the window because it's not easy for people to see. So then you can light by the doorway opposite the mezuzah, on the left side upon entering. The mezuzah is on the right and the menorah will be on the left. This way, you're surrounded by mitzvahs. You have the mezuzah on the right side and the menorah on the left.
Like on a table or something nearby?
Yeah. Putting a table in the doorway would be perfect, or right next to it. On the second page of the outline, if you're still with me. Now, we do light the menorah in the synagogue at night, and the blessing is made. And in the morning, it's relit without a blessing, but it does not fulfill the obligation. The man who's doing the lighting in the shul isn't fulfilling his obligation, so has to go home and do it. And at home, only at night. So when do we light? We light at nightfall for a half an hour. So this year, it's approximately 5:30 nightfall, and it has to burn for at least a half an hour. Now, you could start lighting earlier if you want, but it still has to burn a half an hour into the nighttime. So that means that the candles have to be bigger. So the candles that you're getting tonight, these will last for a half an hour. So that's important to know. But I recommend, by the way, that you use, if you're using these candles, put them into the freezer, because then they will last a little bit longer, because they take a little bit slower to melt because they'll be frozen. Okay. And you should try to light on time. Even if you're in the middle of Torah study, stop, light the candles. So again, ideally it should be around 5:30 for around a half an hour. It could light longer, that's fine. What if you can't light at that time? Let me give you some. I'm sorry. On when? On Shabbos, you're absolutely right. Well, Friday night is the issue, so that's correct. So you have to light. That's why these candles are not going to be good for Friday afternoon. Why not? They'll burn out before half an hour into nighttime. So these candles won't work for then. You'd have to get regular candles or oil. So you light before Shabbos candles. Why light before Shabbos candles? Why not after Shabbos candles? Because that once a woman has accepted Shabbos, once a woman has accepted Shabbos on it, she can't do any work then. So there's an outline here if you'd like. So therefore, this Friday, you should light before 4:33. Because that's when candle lighting time is this week. So light before 4:33 with enough oil or a large enough candle that it'll burn half an hour into light. Is this clear, by the way? Does any?
I think, yeah, so we have like a 2.5 hour, because I have oil like cups that like.
Right.
2.5 hours, I could do that at like 4:30 and.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
4:25, it's fine. You can do it a few minutes earlier, so you don't have to be, the last minute. Saturday night, you have to wait till Shabbos is over. Some people make Havdalah first, many people do that. So light after Shabbos, which is after 5:37. And some make Havdalah the separation ceremony between Shabbos and weekday first. What happens if a person's still at work or they're traveling? They didn't get home on time yet. So light when you get home. But if there's family members at home, make sure that they're up. So if you have a choice, light on time, but if you can't and you get home late, then light whenever you get home, and that'll be fine. Okay, how do we set up? Candles should be in a straight, even row, except for the Shamash helper, which I mentioned. Place candle in the right of you. Add candles moving toward the left, and candles or oil sufficient to burn for the proper amount of time. Place them in a row where they will not extinguish. In other words, don't do it by an open window, okay? And space candles and other menorahs from each other. So if there's a lot of people lighting, you don't want people mixing up which day it is. So make sure there's a separation between the menorahs. How to light? Prepare candles for that night. Place the menorah at the correct location. So we don't light it on a table and then put it where it belongs. We put it where it belongs and light it there. Light Shamash helper candle. The reason why we have a helper candle is number one, to help you light the candle. Number two, the Chanukah menorah is interesting. Shabbos lights, the Shabbos candles are there for us to enjoy and to add light to the table and make so people are not tripping over themselves on Shabbos. The Chanukah menorah, that's not there. The Chanukah menorah's purpose is to publicize the miracle, and we're not supposed to have personal benefit from it. So if you buy the Chanukah light and you want to see what time it is, it's ideally not to use the Chanukah light for your own personal use. That's why I have a Shamash. I'm going to use the Shamash light. I'm using the helper light, not the mitzvah light. Okay. So we light the Shamash helper candle. No blessing is made, and make the blessings. On the first night, we have 3 blessings, which the photocopies of the blessings here with some other nice reading material. So the blessing, the first one is a blessing, thanking God who commanded us to kindle the Hanukkah light. And the next one is a blessing to God that He made miracles for our forefathers in those days during this time of the year. And the third blessing is that thank God He kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us to this season. All right. Now that last blessing is only made on the first night that we light. Once you lit, then the next night you only make the first 2 blessings. Okay? And again, the blessings are out on the table. They're translated and transliterated and in Hebrew. So we make 2 blessings the next night, the first 2 blessings, and we light the newest candle first, going from left to right, meaning to say, we set it up this way, going from right to left, but when we light it, we go from this way to this way. The new candle is the one that we light first. You have a question? You're making faces. Sue, question, yes or no?
You said it said left to right, and then you said go to right to left.
You set it up right to left, and you light from left to right. Okay? So here, and after you light, there's customary to say Haneres Halalu. It's a very beautiful prayer. It says, these lights we kindle upon the miracles and the wonders, the salvations and the battles. You can say it in English. It has it on the sheet too. Which you performed for our forefathers in those days at this season through your holy priests during all 8 days of Chanukah. These lights were sacred. They're not permitted to make ordinary use of them, but to look at them in order to express thanks and praise to your great name for your miracles, your wonders, and your salvation. And then there's a song, or Sur Yeshu, or the other people have other songs to sing, which is a recap of a poem asking for God to reestablish the temple and talking about other things that had happened to the Jewish people in history. Joy and praise, I'm on the last sheet of the outline. Add a special Chanukah paragraph in the silent devotion. As a matter of fact, I think we should get Sidurim, so I can show it to you inside. Yeah. So on page, Sue says it's 782. Well, this is where the kindling of the menorah would be. Okay. So this is where the kindling menorah, but I'm not looking for that now, but this is where you'd find it in your hand, the Art Scroll Sitter. What I am going to show you is in the prayers, we add a prayer called Al Hanisim, which if you look at the beginning, on page 112, right at the beginning. So this is a prayer that we add in the handy art scroll called Al Hanisim, about all the miracles that were done. The short paragraph here, and it continues on the next page. 2 paragraphs there on page 114. Everyone have it? On the right side is 114. It has the right side of what we say by Chanukah, and on the left side is what we say on Purim. Does everyone see that? Yes? So this is an insert we have during the morning service. If we eat a bread meal, we have this insert on page 186. Take a look, 186 in the Grace After Meals. (186) and 187. The Grace After Meals start on the bottom 184, and then on the next page after the top paragraph, we add Al Hanisim, again, depending if it's Chanukah or Purim. So we say the Chanukah section. Everyone see that? And then for afternoon services and evening services, we add the same. In the afternoon service on page 244 and 246, and then in the evening service, bottom of 274 and then 276. So in every service and by Grace After Meals, we do say that. And I give you the page numbers in the outline. In the morning, we say entire prayer of praise. We say Hallel. And we omit certain non-choice prayers, and special Torah readings are read. And we do say Mizmar Shir Chanukah Habayis LeDavid for the inauguration of the temple at the end of the morning service. Now, notice we don't have to have special meals, which we usually have by holidays. And the reason for that is because most of the focus is on the spiritual salvation. Remember, like I said, the Greek Assyrians were out to not kill us physically, but they kill us spiritually. Wanted us to adopt the Greek lifestyle and Greek names and Greek mode of dress. And therefore, so we're saying praise to God, and we talk about the miracles, and we say Hallel, songs of praise. But we can have meals in honor, should be interspersed with songs and praises to Hashem, but there's no formal kiddush or anything like that. We discussed the miracles. Dairy is something that we many times have. As I mentioned before, Yehudis, the righteous woman who saved the Jewish people, she gave him cheese. So that's one reason why we have that. And we eat foods fried in oil. Why oil? Because of the miracle, right? The miracle that took place in oil. One of the guys was not so nice. He put a wick into the potato latkes, potato pancakes that the cook made. And he said, it's a miracle, it burned for 8 days. But the bottom line is that's why there's a custom of eating would be latkes, would be the potato pancakes, also custard or jelly donuts, again, fried in oil. So again, it's related to the oil issue. We strengthen Torah study because that's something that was critical, and play dreidel if you'd like. And the Nun Gimel Hey Shin on the dreidel stands for the words Nes Gadol Hayasham. There was a great miracle there. So that is, and if you want, we can give you some dreidels too. Allusions to the Torah to Chanukah. Why am I talking about allusions to the Torah, to it? Because the story of Chanukah is not a biblical story. It happened after the Torah was given, right? And it was established by the rabbis, right? That's a holiday established by the rabbis. So, but there are some allusions to it in the Torah in any event, which is interesting. First of all, the 25th word, when you go from the beginning of Genesis, of Bereshis, and you count words, you count 25 words, and the 25th word is the word or, which means light. So that's interesting, the 25th word, like the 25th day of the month of Kislev. Also, in Leviticus 22 lists all the major biblical holidays, and Leviticus 24 commands us to take oil for the menorah. So it's sort of alluding a little bit to the menorah, to the Chanukah, the miracle of the Chanukah of Chanukah with the temple menorah, by being its juxtaposition next to the major holidays. Also, the 25th destination the Jewish people traveled with in Numbers 33, verse 29, is Hashmona, which sounds like the name of the family of the Maccabees, the Hashmonaim, that's what they were called. So this is a quick overview. I want to tell you one of the most famous questions about Chanukah, but first I want to ask anybody if they have any questions about what we've talked about so far. Questions? Anybody? All good? Okay. So let me tell you one of the most famous questions. It's attributed to the Beis Yosef, one of the great halachic authorities, though the question is even earlier than that. I found it in a sefer that predates him, but he's given the credit for it. And the question is as follows: why do we celebrate Hanukkah for 8 days? And what's the answer? I'm sorry? The oil burned for 8 days. However, the miracle wasn't 8 days. Why not? Hello?
It was meant to burn for 1 day, but it burned. It was something within 7 days. Like
It burned. It had enough oil to burn for 1 day. So the miracle technically was really only 7 days, right? So that's his famous question, and there are many, many wonderful answers to this. Probably, I'm going to guess probably hundreds, or maybe over 100 for sure.
a book that's written on it, Brand or something.
Yes, there is a book like that, but it's a great question because again, the miracle is really just 7 days because there was enough oil for 1 day. So one famous answer is that they only poured in a drop of oil for each day because they had to wait till they got fresh oil squeezed the olives and brought more. So they put a drop in, at least to light it a little bit, and miraculously it burned for throughout the whole night. That would be one answer. Another answer is that you're right. It's a miracle. We're celebrating the miracle of the oil for 7, but we're also celebrating the military victory, which is it's 1 day for it. 1 day to celebrate the victory, and the rest for the 7 days. Everyone with me? Rav Moshe Feinstein has a beautiful answer that I love, and he says the 7 days are for the miracle of the miraculous oil that burned for 7 additional days, and the first day or the last, depending on what you can choose, is to remember the miracle that oil burns, meaning the miracle of nature. And Rav Dessler has a very beautiful piece in general about this whole idea of nature and miracles, and he says something very powerful, profound. He says, nature is constant miracle, and miracle is occasional nature. And the idea being that to God, it doesn't make a difference. So the fact, going back to Rav Moshe's answer, the fact that oil burns is a blessing, and we have to be grateful for that. And therefore, we celebrate the fact that oil burns, and we can have the benefit of that to this day, not only because of the miracle of the extended burning of the oil, but even just the fact that oil burns at all. And you can do some homework and figure out any other mitzvahs. I will share a beautiful story about the Bluzhev Rebbe, who I mentioned this morning for those that were here. Somebody in the Holocaust, he was in a concentration camp in the Holocaust, somebody got some, I think it was boot polish that was flammable. And they took out a thread and they stuck it in to it. And he honored the Bluzhev Rebbe with lighting the first light of the Chanukah menorah in the barracks in the concentration camp, which, by the way, the Surgeon General would have said is dangerous for your life, but it was a very important thing, and they asked him to light. And it was the first night, so he made the first blessing on the mitzvah of kindling the candle of Chanukah, and the second blessing on the miracle that had taken place for our forefathers during this day, during these days. In those days, during this time of the year. And then he hesitated a moment, and then he made the third blessing. Thank God that you have sustained us and brought us to this season. And he lit it. And the people were inspired and sang along. And one of the people came over to the rabbi and said, Bluzhev Rebbe, I understand the first 2 blessings you made, but we're in this hellhole, and we don't know if we're going to live, and we've lost loved ones, and you're saying, you've sustained us to this very time, and you made us live to be able to be here to do this. Why would you make a blessing like that? A strong question. And he answered, he said, I had the same question, and that's why I hesitated. But then I looked around the room, and I said, if Jews, even in this situation, can celebrate the lighting of the menorah, then that's appropriate to say, that is amazing. And that's, we should be very inspired by people who are holding on to their faith in spite of the terrible situation and circumstances they were in. So that's a beautiful story with the Bluzhev Rebbe. I will give out menorahs. There's reading material here if you didn't take yet, and candles. Again, I recommend that the candles be frozen so that it'll burn a little better, but don't use them for Friday night. Any questions, thoughts, comments?
Like light 3.
Light 3? 3 long ones? Why? I don't know. You can ask her what she's talking about. Oh boy.
I just heard that.
You heard that? You don't like Friday night candles?
No, I'm talking about
Did you read the outline? Take a look at the outline, please. No, I did not. I said that we light it early, but enough oil to last.
So the candles will, if you freeze them, they'll last.
I'm sorry?
If we freeze the candle, they'll last.
No, they won't. Not for Friday night. You need different candles for Friday night. Right, or oil.
I think it makes sense, yeah.
What?
It makes sense. Light every night.
Yeah, you may have it there. Well,
They have that, they- Thinking, you can't say that.
Is it fine, it's fine if they like are burning for longer than a half hour, right? It just have to be a lift.
yes, that's a good question. You can leave the menorahs burning for longer.
The oil tea lights.
Oil, tea light, I didn't know there was such.
Yeah, I have oil tea lights.
You have to see how it burns. I don't know how it burns.
Thank you so very much.
You're very much.
I don't. I have enough.
You have any questions? Questions?
No,
No? Huh? Can you? Yeah, I've moved on. Sure. Take a blue, take whatever color you like. What?
Is it worth their chocolates?
Sure. There's not enough free, not enough free. Ashkenaz, we don't get started. Okay, yeah. Who else wants? Huh? You want some, please? You want candles? Did we get it?
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Take care. Huh?
She gave me $3. You said.
For when? For what?
No.
You should ask her, because I don't. All right, any other questions, thoughts? Have a very happy and joyous and wonderful. You want to wait? I'll come downstairs. I'll give you the papers if you want.
Oh, for
The reading time.
yeah.
Take care. Have a good night.
are you gonna send the recording or?
Yeah, we can send it out. You like
Yeah,
it?
that would be great. Do you need my email? You have my email, right?
Do me a favor, call the office tomorrow, or you can call tonight. I'll leave a message and Sheva will send it out to you, okay?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Happy Hanukkah.
You too, all the best. Bye-bye.
No, I know.
Do you have like, can I get the blue wine?
The what?
The blue one? The blue,
Yes.
like blue boxes? Do you have any more?
No problem.